One of the first things I'd like to address as part of this reflection is that I have really built a love for working with students with challenging behaviors. I don't know if every university splits this topic into two courses, and I imagine that even if they do, they may not be as intense or as thorough as the courses in the KU program. This allowed me to explore the skills necessary to really fall in love with that element of teaching. And so I have some notes from this reflection that I will reference by looking down occasionally. To begin with, the direct social skills assessment is absolutely useful for teachers at every level, including where I am at the center school level, where I can look at the behavior of a student and see what they're trying to achieve and communicate with that behavior. It helps me to determine the function of that behavior. And so absolutely a tool that I use often and that every tool, or every teacher in special education can use and learn to use effectively. The discrepancy analysis assessment is one that, being at the center school where we don't have non-disabled peers, is more tricky to use, and so I have to have a very strong knowledge base of what a non-disabled peer at that age group would be able to do, and I can still use it, but I have to modify how I use it, and so it's not one that I recommend to my colleagues at the center school level nearly as often. Being that special education is moving toward more inclusive practices, I think that teachers at every level are going to need to be able to create and implement intervention plans such as this. One area that I think is going to continue to grow is for teachers who have a student in regular education, not served in special education. We as special education teachers will be called upon to help create preventative measures, and that those two, the direct social skills assessment and the discrepancy analysis, are going to be at the top of my list for helping teachers to do that. This is the most comprehensive plan I had created to date. And in another course, we talked about the difference between minimal compliance and best practices. So, whereas my previous behavior intervention plans were a series of effective but separate components in many ways, this is really the first intervention plan that I can think of as a program. It's much more long term. It has instruction layered on sequentially because the needs of this student are significant. And one of the things that I really enjoy is the video modeling strategy. So we could say the student is going to a different teacher the next year. That teacher can hit the ground running with an effective method that has been used successfully the previous school year, continue to build on those social skills. I might have a conversation with that teacher about the specific skills that it addresses, how to modify that plan as the student makes progress, and various things like that. So definitely a good tool to help a teacher hit the ground running, even if they don't have the same knowledge base that I do. So one of the things that I think stands out about this course is that it differed a lot from 743. As the advanced methods course, we built on that knowledge base and the skills that we had acquired in SPED 743, and we also continued to shift from specific strategies to research-based instructional methods. For this particular assignment, we were talking about social skills, but we addressed many areas of instructional needs for students with significant behavioral situations. I'd like to share some of the other ways that it differs, and for that, I worded it pretty concisely in the written reflection, so I might read a little bit to you, no offense. So in SPED 743, we focused predominantly on the FOBI process and identifying and modifying student behaviors and environments, whereas SPED 843 built on that, and we focused on identifying and analyzing more nuanced social and behavioral skills, and even more complex instructional methods. Whereas 743 focused on collecting data and using the FOBI process, SPED 843 built on those as prerequisites and allowed us to explore and utilize an even greater array of tools for collecting and analyzing data related to those more nuanced skills. In SPED 743, our progress throughout the FOBI process was very closely monitored, which makes sense. We were starting to learn about the topic of behavior, which is by no means a single course topic, and we have to be able to do that right. So that absolutely made sense, whereas SPED 843, we shifted to being able to do that more independently, and we focused on deeper analysis. And I think that makes sense because after I graduate from the KU program, I need to be able to do this independently. So I just want to say that these two courses, both SPED 743 and 843, and this assignment are deeply meaningful to me and part of why I have really enjoyed working with students who exhibit challenging behaviors.